My name is Birdie. I'm from the Community Roundtable. I will be your friendly host today. If you have any housekeeping questions, tech concerns, anything is acting wonky, or you need help, feel free to direct message me in the chat. My screen will be shared, so I will be kind of dual screening it a little bit here and there, but we'll go ahead and get started in just a minute. Thank you for joining us for the live playing of a recorded session. Today we'll be featuring Shelonda Darling, who's a Senior Manager of Global Intranet and Global Payments, and Larry Glickman, who is the Director of Network Engagement and Collaboration for the Union Reform Judaism. And we'll be going through a couple of case studies today. We are joined by Luke Sinclair from Swoop, and thank you to our partners today who have sponsored our Tech Thursdays event. And without further ado, let's dive right in. So I'm going to be sharing my screen for this. It is a recording. We are recording this as well. It will be emailed out to all attendees tomorrow. Feel free to drop questions in the chat because it's actually a really fun experience because we have the panelists here today. So it's kind of like an out-of-body experience. They'll be here to answer your questions live. So feel free to drop them in the chat, use the Q&A, raise your hand. I'm going to be trying to do all of the things in the background. Hi, Larry. Thanks for joining us. And with that, let me go ahead and pull up the recording. And we will get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Shelonda Darling from Global Payments, and I'm so excited today to share with you all kind of the digital workplace journey that we have been on alongside an incredible technology partner that you all know and love in Lumap. So just to kind of set it up for you about what we're going to kind of speak to today, perhaps you all know Global Payments. I want to believe that everyone knows Global Payments, but in case you don't, just a little history here. Obviously, you can see on the slide. You can read that. But what I really want you to know about our company is part of our business strategy over the previous, 5 to 10 years corporately has been a desire to grow through mergers and acquisitions. That has always been something that we as team members understood, that at the C-suite level, we were going to be looking for opportunities, looking for new markets, looking for new verticals where we could expand our business and really be a standout partner to our customers. So that being said, as you can imagine, when you are basically scooping up other companies and bringing things together, it's like any marriage, right? You have to have the initial conversations of whose living room furniture are you going to keep, and what colors are we going to put on the wall, and whose family name are we going to take, right? So you have all of these kind of conversations and compromises about what the new move forward look, feel, brand, voice, etc. is going to be now that your company has grown from what it was alongside another company. So that being said, Global Payments being a company that really has, 15 companies underneath of it, what is it like to run a digital platform for 24,000 team members that all understand themselves as a team member in a particular brand that supports the company brand, unless they are a part of the corporate brand? Also, all of those brands come with logos, and they come with tones of voice, and they come with color palettes, right? And how do you marry and create a space where everyone feels recognized, everyone feels a part, everyone feels like this is a space not just for corporate, right? But that this is a space where all can belong and kind of be a part of the family. That has been the biggest challenge for me as the current senior manager of corporate communications, specifically to the Global Intranet. But let's get into that. With those challenges, as you can imagine, most recently, the largest acquisition, it's been 2 years, but Global Payments merged with TSYS. And so that story is a huge one in the sense that Global Payments 2 years ago was a company of 12,000 team members across 30 different countries, right? And so then you take another powerhouse in TSYS, where they had their own set of 12,000 employees, give or take a few, right? You put those two together, now you have 24,000 team members. But let's further complicate that. Those two entities both used different technology kind of as the core of what the company did. So we had Global Payments on the core of Google, right? We were a Google house. We still are a Google house. And then you had TSYS on the Microsoft side of the world. So now, how are we going to take these two groups, put them in the same playground, and hard decisions have to be made. And so at the time, there was our chief technology officer made a choice to say that we're going to move forward with Google. So all of our TSYS team members will be moving on to Google platforms, Google products, Google services for their regular in and out workday tasks. And so that being said, their previous intranet or digital workspace was on SharePoint. So we took a look and did an in-depth audit of what their system looked like in SharePoint. We did this with our LUMAP team, our LUMAP partners, right? So we did an audit kind of what teamwork looked like. And then we did an audit, of course, at that time, what we called My GPN. What we were using, how we were using it, how effective it was. And we took those two and said, how do we take the best practice out of both of these situations? What do our team members love about each one of these situations? And how can we get rid of the stuff they're not that interested in, but then keep and further amplify the things that they love about their intranet platforms? So having multiple platforms obviously is always a challenge, but you're always going to have that in a company that is the strategy is to have many mergers and acquisitions, right? Of course, like we said, 30 different countries, not to mention when you're bringing 12,000 people and 12,000 people, first, we just want to figure out who is who, like who are your communications team and who's our communications team and who's going to be the communications team, right? All of these decisions being made as you still try to keep the business, the day-to-day ongoing. And then the problem was when you had these two intranet platforms and deciding best practices coming out of both and what the new solution would look like. So not that we were asking the TSYS team members to come into our solution because they were coming into our technology, but that we were also honoring what was great about theirs and then updating ours as well. So what is the new move forward strategy with the third item, not option A, not option B, but actually a brand new option, option C, was our large challenge. So we kind of started with some focus groups on both sides of the house. We asked all of the difficult questions. What do you love about your site? Where does it meet the mark as it relates to communication and collaboration? And where are there areas or opportunities for improvement? And trust me, as many of you know, as intranet managers or digital workspace gurus, it hurts to hear some of those constructive feedback conversations where they say, it's just ugly, if I'm honest, right? Like those types of things. So we really had to take a deep dive into, number one, what's the functionality and the features that we need to have at a base level for people to start here as their initial place to go, as we like to say, the place to go to be in the know. How can we get folks to make this a part of their daily experience? So in the same way as we would teach a new hire, when you come in and you sit down at your desk and after you went to the water cooler or got your coffee, or if you're working from home, when you have went into your workspace and you have all you need to get started, what is the first place you go? Most people are going to say email, right? So how do we train our team members and our audience to start on the intranet? Because ultimately our desire is to get out of your email inbox. If I had to send you an email for every single thing we communicate on our corporate platform, it just becomes white noise, as many of you all know, and those communications get lost. So how can we create a space that is self-service, that they can go and get the information they need, and also isn't just a fluff site, right? A place that they can actually start their workday from, that tasks can begin and engagements can start based upon what is available to them in their corporate intranet. So that being said, like I said, we started with the in-depth audit of both sites. We had many focus groups with audiences on both sides of the house to say, what do you like? What needs improvement? And then we defined kind of what are we trying to do here? There are a lot of tools and a lot of sites in our technology company, but what is the focus of this one? And we really just kind of landed on communication, collaboration, and community. Now, of course, all three of those words start with a C. Of course, there's some marketing behind that as well. And those are words that we have heard over and over and over again. But one of the things that we also benefited from was just coming out of a enterprise-wide corporate employee survey. So we had the voice of our team members coming into the conversations that we were having as we were building out the skeleton of what option C would look like. And we heard them loud and clear. They said, and I'm sure as many of you all have experienced as well, you don't ever survey an employee population where they say, you know what you're really amazing at? You are incredible at communication and collaboration. They never say that. Like, those are always the two things that they say. We need to be able to break down these silos. We need to be able to collaborate better. And man, if we could just get the right news in the right hands of the right people, that would really be great and really help my job every day, right? Those are always the places where there is room for opportunity. And I would also say, of course, in a company, again, where the strategy is mergers and acquisitions, there's all these teams wondering, who do I need to talk to get this done? And so there was a huge opportunity for us to fill a gap in bringing these two families together. So we start there. That's the challenge. And of course, like we said, the goal to bring us all on a single source, to improve the architecture and integrations with multiple other tools across the landscape of all the technology that we ask a team member to be able to interact in on a daily basis, right? So how do we bring these things together so that we're not asking you to, well, in your workday, you work in security, or you work in legal, or you work in privacy, or you work in marketing. And so marketing, you need to know the right URL, and legal and privacy, you need to have access to these certain systems where you're making sure that everything is working as it should and that we're not having any issues, right? And then this other team, you have these 5 systems that you're logging in. And then we're asking our engineers to put these all in a place space where they all work, right? I mean, it's a mess with all of the different tools and technology needed to run a company of our size and of your size as you're listening to me speak here. But saying all of that, we were able to create kind of what I would call the portal, right? Like the way to, we give you the front end to get to all of those things. So at least your bookmark folder on your web browser isn't 80 links deep, right? Like, we are providing you a one-stop shop where you can start your workday no matter what team that you're a part of across the corporate landscape. So a desire to have the right architecture and integrations to make that happen. And then driving corporate culture, because when you are a company coming out of mergers and acquisitions, right and left, each one of them come in with an experience. They all come in with a perspective. They all come in with a brand and a tone, as mentioned earlier. So how do we mold all of those groups together and honor everyone's roots, as well as kind of get us all on the same team? So that was ultimately the desire. And I wanted to just share with you all the quick hype video that we sent out to our team members in December of last year to get them ready, that we are shutting down everyone's individual platforms and we are coming together on the same platform. So we'll watch this video here. And there you go. So it kind of has that New Year feel, right? It has some excitement built up, right? It doesn't tell you too much, but it gives you a little sneak peek. And we got folks excited for what was to come. That being said, our solution, how did we answer on the things that we said we were going to do, right? So we came together with Team GP. Now, just in the name itself, right? We went from one platform that was called Teamwork. We went from another platform that was called My GPN. We wanted to get away from the my and foster the we, so the team was perfect. And then we were taking part of the name from the other. So it really was a beautiful marriage, even in just the naming of what our new platform would be called. So Team GP is our current intranet platform, launched in January of this year, actually just another LUMAS platform, right? We stuck with our same software, but we re-architectured the site, and we just gave it an incredible facelift, and we really built behind with the metadata and all of the elements available to us always, but we hadn't really dove into yet all of the features and functionality and power of the tool. How do we get the information in the right hands of the right people? So, of course, increased productivity with Team GP. Employees have direct access to all of their productivity suites. They can get to all their Google applications, and they can get to all of their external websites, as we mentioned in the tool. We have, of course, definitely higher engagement, right? Because people have a place to come and engage. That's that community component. Where can we provide a space where team members from all across the world can come together, and there's a common bond of just being team members, being humans in this space. We can be casual, we can be fun. It's not so buttoned up and stuffy, right? We wanted to provide a place that was bold visually, but also that was exciting, right? Just exciting and fun personally. And then with enhanced collaboration, right? I could tell you the top 5 components of our site that get the most traffic, but as you can imagine, the team member directory in the top 3 every month, right? So that is a huge place where people can go, I'm a brand new team member from this newly acquired company. I'm now a part of this much larger company that I don't really know what they do, and I don't really know where I fit, right? That team member directory is a huge place for them to start building the relationships necessary to have a successful and fulfilling career. Of course, as you can see, this was the page that they came to on day one, on launch day. So we told them, we had our article at the top talking about coming into the site and teaching them kind of the new layout and structure. We have our communication section, our culture section, and the section you don't see below that is our community section. You'll see my team there in all their pictures. That was the best practice we took from our teamwork side of the house, where they had always had a large photo on the homepage changing every day for team members to see themselves and their friends and be able to cheerlead and spirit one another on in their workday. But of course, communication being the primary goal of any digital workplace, right? It being a knowledge hub for all of those things. So we made sure to keep it focused where we can have fun, but also how can I quickly get you to what you need to be successful in your day. Get another look here just at what our corporate articles look like, right? Streamlining how communications look so team members can learn and be able to navigate the site in a similar way throughout it, no matter who the content creator. We have over 200 content creators all plugging in together on a daily basis, adding new content to the site. So me setting down some rules. We used to have a site that was kind of more the wild, wild west, right? Everybody just kind of got in, and however they decorated their house might be the way they decorated a page, or maybe their time and bandwidth was like, let's just slap something up here, right? So me kind of setting and establishing some corporate templates where all the pages have consistent elements so that the end user always feels like, I know what I'm looking at. I know where links will be. I know where text will be. I know where to find videos, right? We just kept it consistent. So that was a huge win in our newest platform as well. And then, like I said, you got to have fun. On the corporate communications team, we have to have fun. So another way that we took an opportunity to launch into our new option C was some good old-fashioned swag and some merch, right? So as team members participated in different initiatives on the site, whether it be submitting a featured photo, commenting or liking on an article, creating a community post, putting together a knowledge blog, right? Whatever the interaction was that we were hoping for, and those folks that participated, we would cheerlead and reward them with some fun branded materials. And they would be so excited when they would receive this random piece of surprise happy mail, where they might even have their socks, they might have their ball caps or beanies, they would have a pennant to hang in their office, right? Or even a nice fuzzy blanket. Another thing we did on the C-suite level is when we launched into our new platform, we created a gift box with all of these items and handed those over to our C-suite. So it was really rewarding when you jump on and you see your chief executive officer wearing his Team GP ball cap or his Team GP socks or his Team GP vest, and you know you've arrived, right? You know you've arrived. So we had some great merch and swag to get people excited, and it even continues to foster additional engagement and fun as we move on through the growth of what will be our corporate platform together. You can definitely, that is the story. I mean, that's the short and skinny of it. So I want you to know that I'm on LinkedIn. Of course, please don't hesitate to reach out. You'll see me there. Also, of course, my email is shelonda.darling@globalpay.com. Don't hesitate to shoot me an email if you have questions about how to build relationships with the appropriate stakeholders in your organization to get and buy into the intranet, right? I mean, it's a huge difference when it's somebody's pet project, someone's dream, and when your chief executive officer is commenting on an article celebrating a team and their excellent work, and everyone gets to see that, right? So when they're bought in, everyone else will follow, or as they say, build it and they will come. And I would love to speak with any of you regarding your challenges, concerns, questions, or just generally more to the story of how this whole thing came together. But I thank you all for your time today.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Tech Thursdays 2021 Community Roundtable Connect. I'm Luke Sinclair. I'm the Director of Customer Success and Growth in North America for Swoop Analytics. And we're here this afternoon to share a little case study about a customer who's using Swoop to propel their success with Yammer. And that customer, we're very happy to say, is Larry Glickman from the Union for Reform Judaism. Hi, Larry.
Hello,
good to see
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. We have a couple of really great stories Larry's going to share with you today, and I'm excited that he gets to do that because I think they're particularly relevant and relevant to our current sort of time in history. We know that we've been through some pretty crazy times recently. And the topic of today's case study is how the URJ has used Yammer during those recent challenging times. Larry, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it away. And we'll have a bit of time to chat at the end.
Great. And if you could go to the next slide, that's great. So really appreciate being here and being able to share a little bit about the work that we've done in Yammer. We began our use of Yammer about 8 years ago as a means to replace a series of listservs that the lay and professional leaders of our 850 member congregations throughout North America had used for about 25 years or so. So we created an external Yammer network as a place where they could go and connect with each other, share information and resources, and we could connect with them as well. We lead the largest Jewish movement in North America, so we really needed to have a place where we could keep in touch with the leaders of our congregations. And because Yammer by default creates a staff Yammer network as well, we really wanted to embrace both of these, both our staff network and our external network as well. And as of today, we have about We have 539 users in our staff network, and we have over 16,000 users in the tent. And we learned pretty early on that when used, and when used well, we could use our staff network as a place where we could launch those engagement efforts with our users in the tent, and that we could learn a lot from our users in the tent as well. And Swoop Analytics has really been a key part of that to help us understand what that activity means and how it could inform our work. So Luke, if you could click. So yeah, so as we began to use our Yammer network, we began with groups like you see on the those lower two groups. You know, the world that we live in, we deal with lots of emergencies in our world. We really use the emergency response group to help our congregations through natural weather events and other types of emergencies as well, which we will get to soon. And I serve on the Strengthening Congregations team at the URJ, and that's the group that you see there. And our team constantly keeps in touch with the different work that we do there. But it wasn't until we really launched those interest-based groups that our Yammer network really began to grow. I think it was me who created the Pets of URJ group, because whenever we're on a Zoom call, we see the dog sleeping on the couch in the background, or the cat walking across the computer keyboard. So folks have really enjoyed being able to share pictures of their pets. But perhaps the group I'm most proud of is a group I didn't even create at all. And when the pandemic hit last March and we all began to cook and bake at home, somebody on staff created the Pandemic Potluck group. And we've just seen engagement in that group grow so much, and we'll show more about that soon. But everybody loves the Pandemic Potluck group. And if I may say, you see those three challahs in that shot of the Pandemic Potluck group, which I'm proud to say that I made. But we all share the great food that we make and how our kids enjoy it and all of that. And then when we look at the groups in the tent, if you could click, Luke, we can see we can see kind of how it connects there. So our Strengthening Congregations teams really helps to support the work of our congregations. And I can tell you that our staff really keeps an eye on that leadership and governance group a lot. In the tent, we learn a lot there. We're able to share a lot of the work that we do there. And you see the Prayers for Pittsburgh group. So you may remember that back in, I think it was in November of 2018, there was a shooting at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, worst anti-Semitic attack in the history of the United States. And I'll never forget that day. That happened on a Saturday. Now, in the Jewish world, our Sabbath goes from Friday night to Saturday night. So most of us don't work on Saturdays at all. But we begin to see news reports of this horrific event. And then if just by natural osmosis, if you will, we all find our way to the emergency response group. We start to share news that we hear there. We start to share ideas about ways we can be in touch with our congregations, because that emergency response group was there. Before the end of the day, we had almost 100 people on a Zoom call planning out how we were going to respond to this, and even providing some self-care as well. We just needed to connect with our colleagues on that really sad day. And then that kind of propelled us to create a Prayers for Pittsburgh group in the tent, a place where people could just go and post and share and connect with each other as well. But it's a really good illustration as well of how we could see the velocity of a group in our staff network carry over and impact our 16,000 users in the tent. So we really see both of these networks doing important work, and we couldn't have been as impactful as we were without Yammer as the platform that we used. So I was talking about the pandemic potluck group. Not only is it really fun to have these interest-based groups, it also is important in making people feel comfortable with the platform. I want them to feel comfortable because of the work that we do, or because they're just compelled to go there because they know that this is where our work is done. But what we see over and over again is that if it means we have to create a group with food, if that's what it takes to help people make people feel comfortable using the Yammer platform, then that's what we do. And I will say there was a point in time when our HR department was saying to me, no, Larry, you're not allowed to create non-work related groups in our Yammer network. There are legal implications from that, and we just can't do it. And I basically said to them, you're wrong. We need to create these groups, and it's fine. And so we did get back to the point where we could create these groups. And in the pandemic potluck group, because of Swoop, we learned that 66% of all the posts in this group got a reply of some kind. 99% of the posts got a like, which is unheard of in our Yammer networks. And 81% of posts got a reply in 24 hours. And as I've learned from Swoop, the only thing that comes close to that is we know that engagement in Yammer posts goes up to like 75% if you phrase your post as a question. That's a way that people can feel more engaged and like you want to hear from them. The only thing that beats the question mark, I think, is some really good looking food. So always go for the food. It's a nice, easy way to help people feel engaged in your Yammer network, so they will be more likely to bring their work there, and that you will have a more transparent, collaborative organization as a result. And then we talked about the emergency response group. We have a corresponding safety and security group in the tent. And to be honest with you, safety and security is an ongoing concern of the leaders of our congregations. And you can see how activity in that group ebbs and flows. And it's just interesting to me. And so these are analytic reports from Swoop. And so it's really interesting to me to see that in lots of ways, the activity in our staff emergency response group really is reflected in lots of ways by activity in the safety and security group. We see an event take place. We connect in our emergency response group on that, and then we share information and resources about how congregations can help themselves through this event in the safety and security group. And it wasn't until we looked at Swoop that really resonated for us, and we really got an idea of the impact and reach of our work, which was great. And then if we just take a look at the community health index as reported in Swoop, it over a 6-month time frame, and this is for the last 6 months or so here. Again, we can, and it doesn't always match up 100%, but for the most part, you really can see how the activity in each network does match up. In our world, things really slow down during the summertime. And you can see that big dip. And it's almost like okay, let's calm down a bit. We're in June, we can regroup a bit, and the high holidays for us are in just a few weeks. So now we're gonna see activity pick up a lot again. But this really reinforces for us what we know about the ebb and flow of our Jewish year, of things that our congregations deal with throughout the year as well. And it also reminds us of the impact of our work. And again, this has been an interesting time for us. You know, in some ways, we really saw activity in our Yammer network pick up a lot beginning last March. People didn't know what to do. People didn't know how to get through day to day. They didn't know when they should close down. And I gotta let you know, for a congregation to close its door is in such conflict with what our congregations try to be. So once we close our doors, who are we? What do we do? So again, you see the spikes and the dips are great to see as well. We don't want our congregations to work on Shabbat. We want them to step away from their work. And we get confirmation here that that is in fact what they do. So we see lots of replies, we see lots of posts, we see it carrying over from the staff network to the tent.
Awesome. Well, Larry, thank you for sharing this with us. I know you sort of touched on a couple of sort of the key swoop indicators that you use to sort of look at community health, look at the comparisons between those two groups. Are there any other sort of aspects of swoop that we didn't talk about today that you find really critical to some of the work that you're doing?
Sure. It's great to log into swoop and have that network map up here that shows you your impact in an organization and see all of the people who are connected to you through the work that you do in your Yammer network. And those personas have been really useful, as well as I encourage people to use. If you're overseeing a Yammer network, I am here for you. I understand the challenges that you face, and people saying, I just want to send it to you on email, or I don't want to mess with one more place to check. And there are different, so Swoop has identified the different roles that people usually find themselves in. And Luke, you'll have to remind me what some of those roles are. Engager.
Yep, the Swoop personas. There's the engager, the catalyst, the broadcaster. We have a series of personas that we've identified as sort of the key players in a collaboration network. And
right.
We actually have a great quiz on our website. If you jump over there, you can take the quiz, and it will, a little bit like sort of doing the Myers-Briggs profile test. It'll tell you based on your answers what we think your collaboration persona is.
Right. And look, in an ideal world, people go to Yammer to engage, not to just push information out. We have email for that, but to engage and to connect and to learn and to do the work. And that's really the engager profile, which if you look at it kind of on a scale, I guess that would be at the top of the scale. Right. But you do have that broadcaster persona as well. And that's somebody who just posts to post. And here's the file that I need you to read, or here's the news that I have that you need to see. There is actually a place for that in Yammer as well. We do want lots of people to assume that engager profile, to be sure. But yes, we have news to share, we have information to share, and we want people to understand that sometimes we don't want to hear from you on these things. This is the news. This is what you need to do. So do that. And so that's real interesting to dive into as well.
Larry, we are at time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Folks, the contact details for me and the Swoop team are on the screen here. Get to see them for a few minutes now. If anyone wants to be connected with Larry, I'd be happy to make that introduction. I think we'll hand it back over to the Community Roundtable team. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We have some time for Q&A, and I am just going to quickly cruise through the chat because I wasn't able to access it while the video was up. Something that jumped out to me, though, that I think is really interesting, both from Shelonda and from Larry, was this idea of moving away from email and having very dedicated spaces for specific types of conversation. Shelonda, how has that kind of transformed your inbox over the last couple of years, or specifically during the pandemic? Because I think so much of us have worked in organizations that are very email reliant, and what that looks like when that shift starts to happen, because there can be a little bit of loss of control. And I know for me, when I started working in community, it felt almost like something had been stripped away. So I'm curious what that experience was like for you, going from this very email heavy organization to having like a completely separate platform to facilitate conversation.
Thanks for the question, Bertie. I think it can be a catch-22, right? We have trained our team members that if something is important, we will place it in your inbox. And so to move to kind of a different model where we're saying, listen, our goal is to get out of your inbox, because frankly, looking at it from a place of a team member, especially for our company, when we sat and thought through how many corporate communications we have to deliver on a regular basis, in addition to how many their particular brand delivers, how many their office location delivers, how many their boss and their team delivers. When you really think, you take a step back and think about all you're asking a team member to consume in just 24 hours or an 8-hour workday, it is an immense burden for a team member to kind of stay in the know. So we made it clear that it was a communication strategy, that we are desiring to move out of your inbox. But to do that, you have to partner with us by coming to the intranet to receive the communications that we would normally deliver and serve up to you on that kind of gold platter. So that being said, it's been a shift for sure. I will tell you, we're not all the way there yet. It is still, it's a process, right?
It's a process for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely proud of how far we've come.
Awesome. Larry, I can see you in the chat saying that email is a very hard thing for people to surrender. Larry, I'm going to go ahead and promote you to panelist if you want to jump in and answer any questions or add anything to the conversation. Hi, you're on mute.
Don't worry, I know how to use Zoom too. So, it's been a long slog trying to ask people to change the way they behave and to use this platform that we've imposed on them, and to move off of email so this platform will work. And we are a nonprofit organization, and Shelonda, some of the things that you're talking about sound wonderful to be able to do, and we're just, and not to cry poverty here, but we just can't do some of those things. That being said, these things take time, and time is just as much of an investment as anything else. And so to give people time to kind of see where things are, but really the best tool is to put things in one place and only put things in one place and compel users to go to, you say you want that piece of information, this is where it is, and share it with them via a link over email or text or, God forbid, Facebook. But get them to that one place. And I'll never forget, if I have time, when my new boss joined our team, she said right away, I'm going to set up an email group. And I didn't really know her that well yet. I said, oh my gosh, please don't. We have this place here. We have our Yammer network here. Please, let's just create a group there, which she did right away. And a few weeks goes by, and my whole team is talking about this important piece of information. And on the call, I raised my hand and said, I'm so sorry, what piece of information is this? And my boss got this huge smile on her face. She goes, Larry, it's in the Yammer network.
if you were to check the Yammer network, you would see it. And you can be sure from that day on, I check that Yammer group every week because I don't want to be the guy who doesn't know. I want to be on the inside. So if we compel our users to go to this place, there may be some pain points along the way. And you may find yourself saying, don't use email, do this, do it this way. I see the nodding from Shelonda. You must have been through that a bit yourself. But we will get there. It just takes time, and it just takes some gentle reminders along the way.
Yes, gentle
I would
reminders.
appreciate, just to pick up on what Larry said, Bertie, there, I appreciate that he said you put it in one place, because we, being team members who want to support one another, someone will send you a quick chat asking for something. You can either give, you can feed a man or you can teach a man to fish, right? And so the desire is, let me show you where to go find that. And we've had to change our model, because normally we just fire back with the response or with the resource that is asked for. But let me show you where to go get it, helping them learn and just retraining them back to it again and again and again.
Yes, positive reinforcement.
and I can't emphasize enough how what Shelonda said about having the CEO do these simple things to show that leadership is involved is such a valuable thing. And I would argue there is nothing more important, nothing more valuable in helping your platform to succeed than being able for people to see that leadership is there. It's like the lunch table for the cool kids, right? That this is where you want to be because the leadership is there too. It's been a long slog for us in that regard as well. So whatever ways you can get your C-suite involved, that's just going to be a big boon to your possibilities for success.
Thank you for that. And that actually tees up my next question perfectly. Like, I couldn't have scripted that better. Shelonda, can you talk a little bit about how you got your C-suite from just endorsing the community and saying, okay, yeah, whatever, to actually participating? Because there's such a fundamental shift that happens in an organization when that happens.
Yes, I would say it is critical to have what do I want to say? An influencer. I mean, just to use a modern term, but it's critical to have that type of person in your organization. So figure out who those people are, because they exist already. They're already getting people to all of the things, right? So then you utilize those folks to kind of come on board to be a champion of what you're trying to promote. And so I would say in my organization, I'm one of those, right? So my boss did a fantastic job in placing me in a role where I could thrive with that skill set. And so for me, it started by her opening doors for me to build relationships with our C-suite executives. And then once those relationships were built, it's not uncommon for me to send a quick chat to our CEO, scared half to death the whole time and making sure I don't make any, typos. But it is not uncommon for me to say, hey, can you go check out this article and comment on it? Or someone replied to you, would you mind responding to them? And they have never once said to me, Shelonda, please do not bother me with these trivial tasks, right? They have always said, oh, sure, no problem. And again, when you said, Bertie, about positive reinforcement, you can better bet anytime one of them comments, posts, does anything that is involving engagement on a platform, I am the first person to be in their email saying, oh my gosh, that was amazing. You don't know how much that meant. Thank you so very much for your adoption of the tool and leading the way for everyone else to join as well.
Awesome. Larry, I saw you kind of do the nose on the head.
Well, nose on the head, and even like if the CEO just went in and clicked like even that simple act as they ride up the elevator or on their walk to work or their time away from their desk, that can be such a valuable act. And so good for you. That's great that you were able to put that in place.
Larry, you're so right, because they're already doing that. This is not a foreign concept to them, right? And LinkedIn, they're liking and sharing away. So if they can do it there, they can absolutely. Bring those skills over into both Yammer and into their intranet platforms.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Larry, what was the process for you when launching the community internally? How are you getting people on board and getting people fired up in there?
Well, it's still a challenge to be sure. So when we formally launched our Yammer network, because a Yammer network is automatically created as soon as you start to use Office 365. So like some people in our organization knew it was there. Most people didn't know that it was there. And I was never told, okay, Larry, go ahead and create our intranet for us. This was all kind of done like guerrilla warfare, if you will. Like I knew how this would work, and then I just had to bring everybody along with me. And so it is part of new employee onboarding right now. I will say, much to my frustration, we are about to launch a third-party intranet outside of Yammer. Thank you, Shelonda. That I would I'm it's I won't go into all of this because it's so sad, and I worked so hard on this. But we're still going to keep our temp Yammer network in place, and hopefully find ways that we can bring our external Yammer network into our new intranet, because we want to make sure our staff stays connected to this. But there's still no organizational mandate as far as, okay, supervisors, you will engage with your staff in our Yammer network. That never was there. It's stuff like the pandemic potluck and the Pets of URJ that brought them there, and then we could get them engaged from there. So hopefully, even with this new intranet, perhaps we'll find new ways to achieve that success, at least in our external network. And of course, we can't close down our Yammer network, so I'm kind of eager to see kind of where this all goes. So
That'll be interesting. And it's such a great example of how just because the platform is there doesn't mean that people automatically know what to do.
yeah,
It's not like if you
you
build
have
it, they will
agreed.
come. Like they have to be invited. They have to be like, there has to be some kind of dinner party that you're like wooing them in with. And I think that you're on the right path there with the potluck and the pets. Like
Mhm.
you're kind of doing the low hanging fruit that gets people comfortable enough to hit the like, to share a pic, to engage in some way that doesn't feel scary or threatening. Because, like you said, they're already doing that. If you
Right.
have a Facebook, if you have a LinkedIn, you've already taken the gateway drug to doing an online community or an intranet. Um, Luke, are there any things that jump out to you as a solution provider that you hear time and time again from these types of conversations?
I was just thinking when you were talking about, the idea of creating psychological safety. When we did this case study this time last year, we had Ron from Wiley join us for the Tech Thursdays, and he told a similar story. And he said, people come to our Yammer network for the puppies, and they stay for the work. I love that Larry has evolved that now. They come for the food as well. So yeah, I hear that all the time. I know that Jim posted in the chat, this idea of creating psychological safety also aligns to the research community roundtable does. And I think that's something we hear a lot.
Awesome. The socks. Everyone wants to talk about the socks.
Yeah,
I thought the socks are really cool.
There was a time when I was volunteering at my church with high schoolers, and I was super nervous. Like, how do I get into the inside and get these folks to like let me into their circle, right? And I think our youth pastor at the time said, Shalonda, I don't care what anybody tells you, all these kids want to talk about themselves. And that translates to adulthood too. Don't let anybody tell you that people do not want to share of themselves, whether it be their pets, whether it be their own pictures of, when we did an Olympics themed event. And so we had folks kind of create a fake torch and post a picture of themselves holding that, right? So no matter what it is, people absolutely want to share. They want to be in community. It's just a natural component of who we are as humans. So definitely capitalize on that as you're kind of putting together these use cases and figuring out what platforms are best for you. I would also say, to Larry's example, when when we have technology teams, it's critical to build relationships with important stakeholders across the organization, right? Because when you have a relationship with the chief technology officer and you get wind of, wait a minute, someone is pitching an intranet tool and it's going to cost such and such, and it seems like it's going to move forward, then Larry should be able to get to swoop into that conversation, pun intended to my swoop fam, should be able to swoop into that conversation and say, so tell me about the integrations. Yeah. What does this particular platform connect with, and what do we already have that we can pull in and utilize and kind of cross-pollinate?
And
so
and they've already seen like they found out after the fact they couldn't store any files in the new solution, so they'd still have to connect with SharePoint, and it's just like we do our best to get into the conversations that we need to be in. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't.
But yes, it's a process. Shelonda, a question for you. How often are you pulling metrics and sharing dashboards with your executives? Because it seems like they're on board. And it's always great when they have that relationship with you. But what does it look like when they say, okay, but what's the ROI? Or what happens when more business cases need to happen?
Absolutely. So we've done a few things in the launch of the new that we had not done previously. So my boss said, listen, Shelonda, we have got to have an executive dashboard that shows analytics. Really at any time they could pop into it, but we provide it as a PDF version every month. The first week of the month, we give them the analytics for the previous month. So that started this year. I had never done that before. Numbers scare the bejesus out of me. I'm a storyteller. I wanted to define the narrative. So looking at hard, fast numbers has been a new experience. But it has been enlightening as well, as Larry was talking about in his presentation with Luke, being able to know what should I spend my time on when I am building communications is based now upon actual data of what people are going for. So there's no reason to sit and try to think of all these creative ideas when those ideas are not garnering interest. So being able to kind of capitalize on what do people come here for, what do they come back regularly for, and what new things did we try this year that really hit the mark? And let's make sure that we can continue those initiatives. So we are providing those monthly, available to them. And I would also say with analytics, the other key component is giving analytics to the business units that have the content creators who are putting the info out there. Because sometimes they just feel like they're putting information out into the ecosystem. I'm sure Larry feels like sometimes, maybe your Yammer captains might feel like, man, we're doing all this work or we're putting forth all this effort, but does anybody really care, right? So being able to positively affirm them to say, hey, even if people are hesitant to hit that like button or to comment or share, trust and believe they are in there. And I've got the data to show you.
Awesome. Larry, same question for you. How often are you pulling numbers, and who in your organization is digesting that information?
So a lot of our work is Salesforce based. So we actually have been able to connect our Yammer activity to our Salesforce work in some really interesting ways. And we do a lot of this dashboard work as well. And it's so we take a close look at Swoop once each month to see how the staff network performs, to see how the tent performs, and then we're able to compare that information against some of the programmatic information that we're getting out of Salesforce. And it was wonderful to see when I was on a call where they were showing some of these dashboards not too long ago, that really the greatest touch point that we have with our 1.5 million members out there is through the tent. That's just where they come to get their information. We are the top congregational service that we provide, and we're able to understand that because of Swoop and because of that analytics information.
Awesome. We've got just a couple of minutes left. So if anyone has any burning questions for Larry or Luke or Shelonda, feel free to drop them in the chat. Just a reminder that this is recorded. It will be emailed out. So if you missed a portion or you want to share it with a colleague or a coworker, that will be available later. Jim said that he's trying to identify the albums on your wall, Larry.
Jim, give me a call sometime. I'll give you a whole walkthrough. It's my whole teenage years up on the wall for everybody to enjoy.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. I feel like I could talk to you guys all day. I love the energy. I love the vibe. Thank you so much for sharing. Luke, thank you for being here. And yeah, thanks for sharing your success stories, because I think it gives it gives everyone something to aspire to, and it shows how organizations can overcome challenges and that people aren't alone in the process. I think that when you work in community, it can feel a little bit isolating. There's so many people out there who are a team of one, but showing how you have had these hurdles that you've been able to overcome, I think is really inspiring. So thank you for sharing your stories today. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks for everyone who joined us today. I thought this was a great conversation.
Great. Thank you very much.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.